Welcome to Standard Voice News Channel. I am Samira Ibrahim. Here are your top stories for today. Family float appeal funds to ransom ZAMFARA judge. The federal government set to open all schools soon. KOGI governor suspends KOGI State Internal Revenue Service Management. On business, crude oil prices dropped again after losing 4% on Monday. And in the international scene, America places ATIKU wives under international banking surveillance. Now the news in details. The family of ZAMFARA State Sharia Court Judge Salihu Abdullahi, kidnapped by bandits 3 weeks ago, has launched an appeal fund seeking for money to ransom him. Alhaji Abdullahi was kidnapped by bandits along with his colleague Shafiu Ujangebe when they were returning to ZAMFARA State from Niger Republic, where they were studying in one of the universities in that country. Over to our correspondent Philip Peter for more details.
The bandits demand the sum of 10 million for the release of each of the kidnapped judges. Speaking to the Punch, a family member, Malam Hassan Samaru, said they had launched an appeal fund in order to raise the money to pay the ransom. Malam Hassan maintained that they have already sold some properties of the kidnapped judge, including his plot of land, but the money was still not complete. The relatives said the move became compulsory for them to seek for financial assistance from relatives and well-wishers in order to save their brother from his adoptees. He stressed that some philanthropists have started sending their assistance to the family, though he didn't mention the amounts already realized and balance still needed. Peter Phillips, reporting for SVTV.
Governor Aminu Bello Masari of Katsina State has approved for the State Transport Authority to operate vehicles on behalf of the private owners in the state. To this end, the governor launched 2 buses for the authority to be run for commercial purposes on behalf of Katsina State Correspondent Chapel of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ. Governor Aminu Masari directed that vehicles belonging to private owners to be run for commercial purposes must have Katsina line boldly written on them to indicate their mode. Alhaji Aminu Masari expressed hope that the 2 buses in 6 months to come will multiply in number for the chapel to become buoyant. The Katsina State House of Assembly has begun moves to criminalize the operational activities of the Federal Road Safety Co. (FRSC) within the Katsina metropolis. This, according to Katsina Post checks, followed a motion jointly presented by members representing Kaita and Katsina, Alhaji Musa Nuhu Gafiya and Alhaji Ali Abu Al-Baba respectively. Over to our correspondent Shehu Magaji for more details.
According to them, the mere sighting of the FRSC officers on the roads within the metropolis frightens them, and in most cases caused accident. They further stated that sometimes the operatives of the FRSC do station their operational vehicles at roundabouts, causing accident and generating inconveniences to the road users. While contributing to the debate, Alhaji Gafiya made references to the act that established the FRSC, noting that they are not even supposed to be operating on the state roads. After so much deliberations on the motion, the House constituted a 6-man committee to advise the House. Shehu Magaji reporting for SBTV.
Katsina State Governor Aminu Masari has paid over 70.99 billion naira pension and gratuities to retirees since assumption of office in 2015. The State Head of Service, Alhaji Idris Tudu, disclosed this to newsmen in Katsina State. Alhaji Tuni told members of the Correspondent Chapel of the Nigerian Union of Journalists NUJ Katsina chapter on Monday that more than 29.62 billion naira of the amount was paid to retirees under the state government. He added that those who retired from local government service and local government education authorities collected over 41.37 billion naira within the period spanning 2015 and 2020. Date of Service disclosed that the government has forwarded a bill to set up contributory pension scheme to the State Assembly for its approval. The federal government is set to announce resumption date for all classes. Minister of Education Adamu disclosed this to newsmen. The minister, however, said the resumption date on September 7th circulating in the social media should be disregarded. Alhaji Adamu said the resumption date for all classes will be announced next week. Before delving into crux of the press conference, which is to update the general public, especially the student populace, the take-up of the protest, which commenced from Unity Fountain in Abuja to the Federal Ministry of Education in demanding for serious and decisive action to be taken on safe reopening of schools nationwide by the federal government. The minister commended the resilience and commitment of all student union presidents and the entire Nigerian students for mobilizing massively towards the historic work that was embarked upon by the association despite the threat of fire and brimstone by the department. Kano State government has shut down 6 clinics, 4 ultrasound centers and some health laboratories. The private health institution management agency said the health facilities were shut failure to adhere to the let-down rules as reinforced by the agency in the last 2 weeks. Executive Secretary of the agency, Dr. Usman Tijjani Aliyu, confirmed the development to Solace Base on Tuesday, commending the good effort of the inspection team of the agency. Over to Fawzia Ibrahim for more details.
Dr. Usman said the health facilities closed were operating below set standard, which is dangerous to health of the patients. They lack qualified staff, they are not registered, and operating in an unhygienic environment. The executive secretary noted that those among them operating with unqualified staffs will be charged to court, while those operating without registration and unhygienic environments will be sanctioned with fines. He explained that the agency established to create sanity, safety, and to regulate the activities of private health institutions would not be compromised no matter who is involved. He warned all private health institutions operating illegally to stop, as measures have already been put in place with proper and effective surveillance to fish out and punish them accordingly. Fawzia Ibrahim reporting for SVTV.
The chairman of the National Caretaker Committee of the All Progressives Congress APC, Maib Malabuni, and the chairman of Edo State APC Governorship Election Campaign Council, Abdullahi Ganduje, Monday met with President Muhammad Buhari behind closed doors. The meeting, said to be a private one, was held behind closed doors at the President's office. Although the agenda of the meeting was not made public, it held a day after the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) declared the State Governor Godwin Obaseki the winner of the governorship election held on Saturday. Obaseki of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) defeated Osagi Eze Iyamo of the APC and other contestants to emerge winner of the contest. APC candidate Osagi Eze Iyamo in the Edo State governorship election has alleged that some of his supporters were disenfranchised during the polls held on Saturday. Mr. Eze Iyamo stated this in a tweet shortly after losing to the incumbent governor Godwin Obaseki of the People's Democratic Party (PDP). Eze Iyamo further alleged that there were many irregularities during the election and that he was studying the results to determine his next action. He, however, appreciated his supporters who had to endure many evils, including being prevented from voting, for their support and determination during the election. He assured the supporters that he is studying the result along with other party members and will announce his next move soon. The KOGI State Governor Yahaya Bello has suspended the management of the KOGI State Internal Revenue Service with immediate effect and appointed an interim management committee to oversee the daily activities of the service. This was disclosed by the Commissioner for Information and Communications, Mr. Kingsley Fanyo, while responding to inquiry from newsmen. He said the suspension was predicated on violation of corporate governance in the service, saying the state government had to act to save the service from further violations. The Commissioner said the decision came as a result of the 2019 audited financial report of the service. The Governor is conscious of the things that have to do with excellent corporate governance, transparency and accountability. As part of efforts toward revitalization of grazing reserves, Niger State Government has concluded arrangement to partner with Bradford and Houston to invest in Audu Kechi Grazing Reserve in Lavon local government area of the state. This was disclosed by the Commissioner of Livestock and Fisheries, Alhaji Haruna Nuhu Dukku, during a courtesy visit paid on Etsu Nupe and Chairman Niger State Council of Traditional Rulers, Alhaji Hayya Abubakar, to seek for his royal blessings and support for the state government in its bid to scale up grazing reserve in his domain. Alhaji Nuhu Dukku pointed out that the culture of migration from one geographical area to another among cattle breeders in search of pastures for their livestock was fast fading out at the global arena, adding that the administration of Governor Abubakar Sani Bello is poised to providing modern facilities in conforming with animal husbandry best practice for approved livestock and fisheries production. The Nigerian Army has confirmed the death of a colonel after an ambush by Boko Haram terrorists. The deceased, described as DC Bako, is one of the gallant and finest war heroes. Premium Times reported the ambush near Damboa, which led to the death of Mr. Bako, a colonel who also commands an army brigade in Damboa. Ado Isa, the spokesman of Nigeria Army's Operation Lafia Dole, in a press statement confirmed the death. He said Mr. Bako was, until his death, the commander of 25 Task Force Brigade in Damboa. On business, over to Aguilita.
Welcome to Standard Voice Business Update. Crude oil price drifted lower at the later part of Asia trading session on Tuesday as Republicans stormed better in the Gulf of Mexico weekend. Brent oil futures were down by 0.31% to $41.31 at the time this report was drafted, and WTI future fell by 0.23% to $39.22. Both oil benchmark fell around 4% on Monday, hit by rising concern that an increase in coronavirus cases in major markets could spur fresh lockdown and hot demand. Oil prices are falling again amid tropical storm Beta reduced in power in the Gulf of Mexico, allowing fears of an extended shutdown that began in the previous week with Hurricane Stella. In a note to Nairametric, Stephen Innes, chief global markets at ATIKU, spoke on the macro disrupting the price of hydrocarbon. In line with broader markets, oil prices were hammered lower overnight as the growth asset buckled amid lockdown fears in Europe and the UK. This continues to be concerned around the effects of demand of COVID-19 cases globally, as countries have to counterbalance the economic and health issues in getting back to work. The second half of 2020 was always going to reflect this price seesaw. While Mother Nature is doing its part as traders focus on the hurricane season in the US, OPEC Plus cost seems to be tightening the market. However, the COVID-19 crisis continues to deepen, with growing concern about global energy demand arising from the latest data on the spread of the virus in major world economies such as the UK. And that has been on Standard Voice Business Updates. I'm Aguirita.
And on the international scene, ahead of Nigeria's 2019 general elections, perennial presidential hopeful ATIKU Abubakar mounted an intense campaign to entangle his candidacy from a public perception that he is corrupt. This is what his opponents have always latched onto, but in 2019 he decided to confront the question of corruption head-on. He said at the time that if they have any evidence of corruption against him, let them come forward. The former vice president made media and public appearances daring detractors to provide evidence against him. American authorities were also busy pouring through records to determine if the former vice president had engaged in any recent financial transaction that could be considered questionable or suspicious. As a politically exposed person, The Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, an agency of the U.S. Department of Treasury, had placed ATIKU and his family members under close watch. New findings have now shown that FinSec flagged some transactions linked to the senior politician as suspicious as it surveils money movement within the international financial system. These findings also offer fresh insight into how huge funds linked to ATIKU may have been moved across international jurisdictions using shell companies. FinCEN files a new investigation by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, BuzzFeed, and 108 media partners across the world, including Premium Times, a large volume of confidential financial reports relating to the transaction activities of world leaders, terrorists, drug dealers, and money launderers. That has been the news from Standard Voice Television. To end the news, a quick look at the major headlines. Family float appeal funds to ransom ZAMFARA judge. The federal government set to open all schools soon. KOGI governor suspends KOGI State Internal Revenue Service Management. On business, crude oil prices dropped again after losing 4% on Monday. And in the international scene, America places ATIKU wives under international banking surveillance. That's the news. On behalf of the production crew, Head of News and Current Affairs Department, Ibrahim Garbatunau, I am Samira Ibrahim, wishing you a pleasant day. Keep watching Standard Voice Television News. Goodbye.